We are live. Hey guys, Jim here from Creative Flame Podcast Network, reviewing with a few of my friends Apocalypse The Risen, a campaign setting by Rusted Portal for 5th edition with the plus spine powered, which gives a whole bunch of cool things. Joining me today are my friends. And we'll see who speaks up first.
Kelly.
Megan, hi.
Hey, I'm Munchin.
Hey, so is there anything you guys would like to shamelessly plug, like the Browncoats? See how I threw that out there.
Oh, I thought I got to talk as me, not the brown coat. It's not a
Then you
brown
can
coat, but
totally talk as you then.
yeah, I don't need to plug anything. I
Okay.
just want to plug my opinion.
Well, we're plugging opinions and Apocalypse the Risen, which
Yes.
is some would say modern, but it's post-apocalyptic RPG set using the D&D 5th edition rules with a whole bunch of tweaking from the spine powered for Rusted Portal. I'll throw that out as my first impression. I love it because it's zombie apocalypse with the angels and demons. It totally gives me that Legacy, I think is what's the movie feels,
Legion.
and that short Legion and the short-lived TV show on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, you're thinking Legion.
Yep. So, what were you guys' first impressions before we start flipping the cover?
I really enjoyed the entire premise. Without going too far deep into it, I love that there is no alignment because we're in an apocalyptic world and alignments go straight out the window. And I love that that's addressed in like the first, I think, 10 pages of the story.
My zombie warlord appreciates you for that.
I do gotta say that, the zombie genre is one of my all-time favorite genres in fantasy. The only thing that basically outtops that is Lord of the Rings, but I mean, it's Lord of the Rings, so.
That's the
But
classic
it's
that
not.
made it classic.
I kind of like that it's not just zombies. You get all the apocalypses in one, so to speak.
Yes.
So where it's not just one. It's not just a zombie apocalypse, but we're talking Revelations. We're talking so it it encompasses more, and I think it actually did it kind of smoothly, you know, um, for that branching out to just so everybody has their favorite type of apocalypse almost because you even
Right.
have the nuclear kind of one with the mutations. So you got zombies, you've got revelations, angels, demons, and mutations. So I think it marries into they married the different types well.
So
I
yeah,
agree. I kind of feel like that's what like a true apocalypse, like end of the world, it's not going to just be one. It's going to be everything just kind of raining down sort of thing. So I also really like that they embrace the chaos of a all-encompassing apocalypse, not a just this one type of apocalypse.
yeah, it definitely has that life after people feel where it shows just how everything will go torrentially bad all at once because of cascade failures that happen. So to set the stage a little real quick, so in Apocalypse the Risen, the idea is it's the modern day, and some yo-ho for television ratings breaks the seven seals. This is all preface for the adventure. 25, modern day. 25 years in the future is where you're playing, which after everything has gone to shit. So always in history, angels and demons have existed. Demons have crawled out of hell, angels have fallen from heaven. But on the day the seventh seal happened, like Kelly said, revelation happened. And all the souls in purgatory flooded back to the material plane of Earth and found the nearest dead human corpse and animated it. So, unfortunately, the angels and demons were like, hey, we're doing our stuff, and then zombie apocalypse happens. And everywhere, anywhere, it's your classic zombie movie where bodies, and in the setting, even in the player's part, within like 10 minutes of people dying, they animate. So people have that Walking Dead feel that you got to put those bodies down permanently. I mean, I could totally see an entire class that's whole job is just to make sure that bodies don't get back up. or like from Blades in the Dark, that group that hunts down freshly killed corpses to make sure they don't have an outbreak in the cities. So then, of course, the game is flash forward 25 years of all of these different apocalypses, nuclear power plants melting down, demons crawling from portals of hell, corruption from radiation, corruption from the evil corruption. I mean, so anything that your player group wants is the shtick of the colony that you're surviving with. I just wanted to set the stage. Oh, and totally we're using a review copy that we were sent by Rusted Portal. Totally want to admit that one to be out in the open. Their Kickstarter is coming out within the next month. So I totally get a chance to geek out with them later next week, which is going to be fun. But we wanted to sit down and jam out over the book.
I'm kind of jealous that you get to like chat with the authors because I'll be like at work doing adult things.
Oh, conveniently, they picked a day I had previously scheduled off, so it's perfect. I gave them a bunch of days. But if you want to email me your list of questions, I will totally name drop and ask your questions.
Okay.
I might have a couple suggestions more from a technical aspect.
See, I really have
the book
one.
was edited.
I have one complaint, and it's about their letters. I hate the font they wrote the letters in. Like it doesn't matter if I was on my computer screen, my phone screen. I was having to zoom in to read it, and like had to read it like line by line. And maybe it's because I'm blind as a bat, but like this should not be this hard.
That brings me to one of the issues that I had just technically from the book. Is some of the lettering and the artist ones where they have all the flavor text in cursive and stuff.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I have no issue with that, but if I didn't have this in a PDF form and I had to maximize it just to be able to read it, and I think they're going to limit their audience with that type of thing because they don't teach cursive in school anymore.
Well,
most
and I actually
don't even know what cursive is. So the younger population aren't going to be able to read it, and the older population, unless it's in PDF form, can't read it.
That's actually exactly what I'm talking about, because like it's even written in pretend cursive, but it just like the specific font is hard on the eyes, hard to read.
And it uses what I found, because it is a pretend cursive, it's not a full cursive, that they actually use the S from an older cursive.
Right.
So, which makes it even harder because younger people would also, if they don't know it, might think it's a G,
Right.
But yeah, just from a technical aspect, I would have suggested another.
Right. There has to be a way for it to look like someone wrote it and it still be readable.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, on my perspective to it, that I could read the normal font fine. I am kind of young and my eyes aren't terrible, so there is that. But
how young is kind of young? Out of curiosity.
I mean, okay, so I was born in '99, so I'm only 25. So
okay, yeah, so you have baby eyes. Oh, I'm very jealous of your eyes.
No, I've had to wear glasses since 8th grade, so there is that. But I can't see far away. I can see close up. So for me, the font was particularly fine. I do know that like if they did increase the font size, that it would like mess with the pages and increase the pages. But I do think that would be a good addition. And with the cursive, that was a good thing that you brought up, because I did learn cursive in school, but when I was first reading all the cursive, I did think that the S's were G's. So it did confuse me at first.
See, now I'm like, I'm not the only one.
Weird too. I think a couple of the ones or the O's are weird, but not all of them.
And I get it. I mean, the regular font throughout the book is fine. It's just the cursive one in the like the notes, that the handwritten notes that I think that they might be limiting their audience for with that.
And it's not just there for flavor, it actually has something that has to do with the story in.
Yes.
So making it so it's readable for everyone is probably a better choice for them.
Mhm.
Legibility is very important to encapsulate that feeling that they're going for.
Yeah. And like I like that it is written in that pretend cursive, so it does look like it was written by hand. But if they could maybe use someone else's hand, that would be nice.
I think another good alternative could be that they put that exit down on the side as kind of like a in quotes thing.
Mhm.
So that, you know, it doesn't destroy the cursive to give the feel of the world and everything that's currently happening, but also it can give the legibility so people can read it if they're having trouble doing so.
Oh,
And-
maybe have like an index at the back of this is what the letter like kind of like with captioning, you know, how they'll have like this is what it says, but you still have like the pretty imagery.
They
How about
could
just
totally
having an
Exactly.
index?
they could
There
play
is
it
no
off
index.
as demon or angelic script.
I mean, it wouldn't make
Grandma's
sense
writing
if
is now demonic. I like it.
it wouldn't make sense if angels used old-timey cursive that people can barely read. Because, you know, they'd be
Whoa.
like, oh, this is new,
Ethiopian.
and it's actually cursive from the 1100s.
Yeah,
The
like
Noki
with
cursive.
good omens, how Azzy and Crawley are both always like, oh yeah, I'm really into this new thing, and it's like 100 years old.
But technically speaking, yeah, a lot of the issues that I had with the book were literally just from an editing point, and an index. A true index, there is none in this book. So as I was reading it, I wanted to go and learn more about the mutations and stuff. So I looked for an index, you know, to see, you know, and there was none. An index would be very, very helpful.
Right.
To be able to find the different, you know, uh, mentions of it. So, and redoing the editing on the races.
So
I like the races, mind you, but the way they have it edited in the book, I have issues with.
Actually, yeah, I do agree. I do like the races, especially the Lazarus, which I think is a interesting addition to it. Because, you know, typically in this apocalyptic type setting, it usually focused on one or two things. But the Lazarus, I think, introduced a completely different and unique thing to the apocalypse, because it essentially says, hey, it's not just Earth or the prime plane that was affected. It was also the purgatory plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting too with the Lazarus, how it's okay, this is a zombie apocalypse. We're all fighting the zombies. Hey, here's some people that are dead brought back to life. They're not zombies. They're something else.
Mm-hmm. Which made a great new feel. So let me go ahead and crack the book open since we're talking about the races, so we can see some pictures and stuff. So they got some pretty art on the inside there when you open it up, little angel demon feel. They show the epic pictures of just how gone to hell the world has gone. And I do like how they give credit to their playtesters, the Rusted Portal Colony.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this is a massive, like 580 plus page book. If you add an index, I think that could be another 20 pages easy. Make it a 600
Yes,
page
but it can
tome.
be very helpful.
Very helpful. So as you go through, you can see the total cursive we're talking about that is going to make you go blind. And then, of course, the book covers right off the bat the game system, which is the After the Rise, Apocalypse the Risen 5e plus system. They add some cool things like how they kind of twist on advantage disadvantage, which I like how they added a new oomph to it. They give
I
you
like how
plenty.
they hindered and uh, enhanced
Mm-hmm.
instead of using straight names or the advantage or disadvantage. You know, I thought that
I like the
blended
restricted little side one or middle one.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they go over the skills again, just as a good recursor. So if you only have this book, you can technically play compared to a lot of the setting books where you have to have the player's handbook. You could technically run completely out of just this book because it's got the open gaming license rules.
I like that too. It did feel like I was reading a complete handbook. Like I don't have to go reference 4 other books to be able to play. Like I can you hand someone this book and it can be their handbook. Sure, they
Mhm.
can only ever play this, but like I like that it is a very full encompassing book.
Yeah, which it's all nice and self-contained, which is nice.
It does even include like the base D&D player's handbook things of how to just play the game in general too.
Mhm.
So if
Yes.
this was somebody's first campaign ever for Dungeons and Dragons, it can still work for this. Because that is
Exactly.
one thing that I do notice a lot of other homebrew campaigns and whatnot, they don't really take into account sometimes like brand new players and whatnot. And so there can be a bit of a limit to what new people can do. But this book is saying, hey, you're a brand new player to D&D. Awesome. We want you to play this module. This module is one that you're going to absolutely love, and we'll make sure that you can understand everything by putting everything that you need to understand about the game in the first part of the book. And
Exactly.
also because they go and edit some of those portions too and change it for the game specifically, it is really helpful to go and look over those rules again to make sure that you fully understand it.
Yeah, just in case, and because I've like you guys said, I've picked up setting books before where all of a sudden you see this, somebody thinks it's an RPG book, and you realize it's everything but the rule sets. It's got all the setting fluff, some creatures and things, but it doesn't have the rules itself. And people assume when they pick it up, it's an entire, this is an RPG book, when in fact it's just the setting book.
Right. That's actually a problem my son had when he went to go play D&D with a couple of his friends that like their parent the dad was running the game and he was there. They just had, okay, here's the setting. What do you mean you don't have your own player's handbook? And he was like, sorry, I don't have a $90 book just hanging out to come with me to my friend's house. And it was
Yeah.
like it ended up being something that he didn't play with them very long. I think past 4 or 5 games because there was no accessibility and it was like, oh, you have to use my book again. Whereas when we've played in person before in tables my entire life, there's maybe 1 or 2 handbooks that everyone's kind of
Yeah,
grabbing and looking at, and this group was very much no, have your own or suck it up.
that's
So
part
I
of the
really,
content, I think.
right, yeah, but I really really like that this book takes that equation completely off the table.
Yeah, which is nice. Which that is one good thing with the open gaming license and the whole Wizards gaming license thing. That's why people freaked out, because we like it when publishers include the rules in the book. Because
Yeah,
that way you don't need to have every pile of book in front of every character. Granted,
right.
I'm always one of those people. I'm the GM. I gotta have extra books for everybody. That's
Well,
just the
yeah,
GPU.
Yeah.
definitely. Like the
Well,
longer
and
you play, the more books you have and the more rules you have in your
Mhm,
brain. But this does feel built for everyone, no matter what your experience level is. You can come and play and enjoy.
And I
well,
will
and
throw. Oh, go ahead.
it says it's in the it's 5e compatible, which it is,
Hmm.
so that okay, people who've played D&D 5e, they know, okay, they can have it, but this game is actually expanding on that.
Yes.
So whereas some other world settings, it's like, okay, yeah, it's 5e, you just expect you to know. They're taking it beyond just the 5e, and tweaking it. So it's very beneficial that they put it all up front.
Hmm.
First
Yes.
thing right out of the gate, to help people. Yes, this is 5e, but it's more than just 5e. So
It's
I think
five. It's
even a seasoned
R5E.
player, yeah,
Hmm.
even a seasoned player, it benefits them as well, because most go, I already know this, but you don't actually know. You compare, and so I think that's, I thought
Hmm.
that was nice.
And I will throw it out. This is a player's handbook, a setting book, and a DMG all together.
Mm-hmm.
because
So
they
one
give.
thing I am noticing. Sorry, finish your thought. Never mind.
No, go
I'll
ahead.
go after. No, I'll go after what you say.
Oh, and a mini monster manual as well, all in one chunk. This is why this is a massive book, because it's a lot of information all in one chunk. But go ahead, what you got?
So I was thinking, like, because I read part of it like it was a book, every single word, and then I went to skimming and like reading the highlights of what interested me and looking for what interested me. So I kind of did both kind of read throughs, but I don't actually remember, and I'm trying to see if maybe I just didn't get that far. I don't remember seeing the actual character sheets anywhere.
They actually don't have, because on most D&D books you have character sheets at the back you can copy, but they do
Yeah, that's
have character
double
sheets
checking.
available for pay what you want on Drive Through RPG that are form fillable. So I will
Oh,
throw that
okay.
one out there, that they do have character sheets available for download that are form fillable, which is nice. Because we all
Okay, because
know
yeah,
form
I just
fillable
made to the
character sheets
back.
are pretty.
Yes,
But
because yeah,
that that is a
I
good
just made it
point.
to the end, and I was like, "There's no character sheets." It's not that I like skipped over it last time; it's that it doesn't exist.
See, that was going to be one of my suggestions for their Kickstarters. They should totally toss in like 5 character sheets with the Kickstarter, made on good dark paper but bold print so you can still see it.
Does the
Right?
book
Like, yeah,
tell you
world
where to
expensive.
find these character sheets? Because that's one thing that I didn't notice.
Right?
I
Because
did
it's
not
I
notice
and
them say where they are, but I actually have, just from researching it, found them on Drive Through RPG. So I
Well,
so
will
I guess
totally
that's the
include them
thing. It's
in the
like
notes.
because it's 5e, just use your regular 5e character sheet. But this is such a beautiful world; they should totally slap their logo
Oh,
and
heck
have
yeah.
some customizable. Especially since it is 5e plus,
Hmm.
they should definitely have at least like a couple of the back of the page, back of the book you can make copies of
Exactly.
if you're
So
old
that way,
school.
especially since you're going to have things like the extra powers, the mutations, any of the corruptions, you're going to need extra space to add extra stuff.
Right. And I mean, it's 582 pages. What's the problem with making it 585 so we have the 3 character sheets?
What's 3 more pages going to make the printer pull their hair out?
Right, exactly.
So I
Not
have
page
gotten
page
to
for
the
page.
to the ancestry, which is what they call the races for the setting. And we do have the descended, which are basically angels that said, "Oh hell no!" when they heard about the apocalypse and came to Earth. Anybody liking any of the angels particularly? We've got the 3 different branches of the family.
well, I think
I
that
thought
it's
it was
very interesting that they can that okay, hey, Earth has the seals have been broken. Demons are invading. Who wants to go and help the humans? And they volunteer basically to go. But then when they get there, they're cut off, and then they don't remember much of who they were.
Mm-hmm.
But as they level, they can regain more of their, and they also lose some of their power, so to speak. So they're not OP, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that's interesting that that's how they, you know, incorporate them into this world without making them, yeah, oh well, this celestial, angel will just destroy everything. I think they did a very good job of adapting it so to this world and not make them overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Power
guess
balance is
I
hard.
missed the part where it said that they volunteered, but I thought it was interesting that they all fell to Earth and then they have no memory and they're all the same exact age.
Yeah. I
I thought
mean,
that was interesting.
interesting thing is why didn't more angels come down? As a supernatural fan, I'm just wondering what factions are going on upstairs.
Right, and I
That
guess that's where I missed that they volunteered because I was like, oh,
Well,
so these 3 traits just got like kicked on down for whatever reason, and they didn't
directly
like know
after it
nothing.
says descended, when the last seal was broken, a great call went out across the heavens for those willing to descend to earth in order to help save
Oh,
humanity by fighting the rising tide of the damned and the dead. Many answered the call and gave up all they knew to save the mortal world. I thought that,
oh.
hmm
I guess I read that. My brain processed that differently.
And then, of course, as they level, they get more uber powerful, but it's not game-breaking uber powerful, which is nice.
Right.
It's kind
Well,
of like they're discovering lost powers more so than them just being, I'm an angel who has come, like basically in the movie Legion, right?
Exactly.
The angel just coming down and just hitting face on everybody, just defeating every single thing. No, that's not the case. These angels are basically like newborns once again, and they have to regain experience and learn how to fight and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how they actually kind of incorporate that as a how, like, for backgrounds and type of stuff, because this whole losing their heritage or forgetting about it and then losing their connection to the upper realm, it can actually create a lost feeling in them, which, I mean, as a role player, you can use that. It's like, wow, it's like you can play, or that can cause a descendant to turn, to go bad, or to be, not a very nice person, or, or make them very angry because they know something's missing and they don't know what it is. So I thought it allows for some interesting role play possibilities.
You could totally have some great bad guys or some great used descended. Like, what if you have a descended that a demon has tricked him saying, "Oh, I can get you back to heaven if you do this for me," or cult
So
of personality angel.
So actually, when I was reading about the Descended, that's what my first thought was. Oh my God, what if there's a kid from a Descended, or from, like, there's always the trope of the demon spawn human kid who has a little bit extra special powers, but like is like a huffy teenager usually. But reading about the Descended and their types, I was like, like a kid, like a kid of one of these people, that would be an interesting character to play. And
Actually,
then later down, you see that they kind of have their own category, the progeny, I think is how you say that word.
Yeah.
Progeny, yeah.
But the progeny only applies to the demonic and those types of things, because the book
Yeah.
actually specifies that if a descended and a human have a child, it is
They're
human.
just straight human. Yeah, just straight human.
Straight human.
But I like that they addressed that, like, oh well, here's, if your brain was at all triggered like mine was, I started scrolling down, like, okay, what's the option? And the option is, demonic, demonic spawn as a progeny. But I thought that was
I will
future
say
for the game,
I will say though that with the Descendant losing the memories and whatnot, it kind of gave me a feeling of Total Recall, the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Oh yeah.
where
Ooh,
like where it
Good
basically
point.
becomes a choice of like, do I want to go back to be my old person if they ever find out about it? Because one thing that I didn't notice is one of the spells is plane shift, so once somebody gets it, they could technically go back to heaven or the upper realm. So technically speaking, they could get back their memories. So then, would they want to keep being the person they are, or turn into the person they were? Which I think would be a great foil and great character development for a descendant in the campaign itself.
Oh yeah, that would be a great character arc.
Yeah, because
Did you
imagine
guys-
if you were a descendant who basically was in the gray area, didn't exactly do bad things, but didn't do good things either, and was basically trying to survive. And then you find out that, oh, you're actually an angel who was all about peace and not hurting anybody. So then you would think to yourself, then, what should I do? This person that I was isn't who I am now.
Did any of you guys actually watch on Netflix the Dead Boy Detectives?
Not
Yes,
yet.
I did.
Yeah, because that is actually one of the characters' development, and that's the question that is posed to that character is, now that you know who you are, do you want to go back to your old life, or do you want to live your life now with this knowledge of who you used to be? And that's always a really fun storyline to go down as a character.
Could totally have a double descended. I cut my wings off again and came down.
Okay. I know who I used to be. I don't like it, so I'm not going back. Or I don't like it, so I'm going back to undo the damage that I did.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's always a really fun storyline to watch play out, to role play going through. It's actually a really, really fun story to experience, I think. I've always thought.
I do gotta say, the progeny are super loaded with customization. Like, there is so much you can choose from them. From basically the two effects that demons have, from having a forked tongue or wings or being skilled or whatnot, to them having one of the sin natures basically being your quote-unquote sub-race, to where like you're a progeny of pride, so that makes you essentially have a hubris that makes you want to be prideful, which can be great in some situations and be a huge downfall in others.
It gives you great boost, but with great boost comes great responsibility.
And
so I don't
with
know
the
how
whole,
you guys. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, I was just gonna say in the whole ancestry section, that the humans really get the shaft.
They're just humans.
So not only, well, I mean, yeah, it's just humans and stuff, and the way they edit it, it's actually kind of convoluted, and they're putting, the Lazarus and the, the descended into the human, so that it's a little convoluted finding it. But the humans, who make up the majority of the creatures in this world, which was established in the setting, have like 4 tiny paragraphs and then nothing. So when you're in the character, when you're picking races and stuff, it's like, okay. And then all these other races get all of this very interesting and multi-dimensional, particularly the progeny, that they could have expanded the human section, like with, the mutations, with, different things like that nature, to make them more interesting. I thought they kind of did a disservice to being human, just at least in the ancestry section, so that, oh, well, now everybody just wants to be one of these other races and something. But I think part of it is because of just the way it was presented in the ancestry. They could have done more to make it, or at least, discuss some, like, the world has changed, but it's still the world. Maybe there are some established factions of different types of bad humans or something, the ones who, it just, I found that it was a little lacking for the humans. And I
It did
know
deserve more
they're
flavor text.
boring. Yeah, but I think they could have done a little bit more to, I don't know, encourage it, because the others definitely get far more attention.
Because if you sneeze, you can go back from the descended to the Lazarus without even noticing the humans were in there.
Well, but isn't that kind of the point, though? Like, the apocalypse happened on Earth, and humans are surviving, but you still are just a normal human for the most part. Like, unless
are you?
Mutations
can be cool.
Right, but unless you've been actively mutated, you don't, and then you aren't really a normal straight human anymore. It's kind of like the normal guy surrounded by all the cool people stuff. And you're just like, well, you can fly, I know how to fire a gun, I'm really good with locks. Like that itself, it's very it's a Firescape character, basically. Are you John from Firescape, or not Firescape, Farscape? Sorry.
Are you Crichton, or are you all the cool aliens on the ship?
Right. And Crichton's a pretty cool character. He is the star. But, he really is just a soft, meaty guy compared to all these other cool racial traits around him. He's nothing special except his brain.
I still love, just to digress there on Farscape, they had an episode where they talk about how he's weak and his vision's bad, and they're going down this list of things that they're superior to him genetically, and Erasun's like, oh, I can read that too, and she has to hold her hand over one eye and squint to read the fine print that they're all reading just fine, showing that, okay, humans are we're subpar, but we're good at what we do.
Right, and Aaron's just like an enhanced human, basically. Like, they have that episode where they're like, I don't remember, it's not their DNA, but whatever it is like they're their pheromones trigger whatever from each other, and they're like perfect matches.
I will say, I think humans have a secret stat that many people wouldn't think about or notice at first. Because later on in this book, it talks about a lot of the colonies and places where civilization is. And most of these colonies, if they're not human based, they have a heavy population of humans. So I think one thing that humans would have an advantage of is basically the social aspect of being in colonies.
Mm-hmm. And
because since there's still so many humans, humans are outnumbering basically the descendant and progeny in Lazarus. So if a human were to interact with another human, it might be distrustful, but at least there might be some gain of trust. But if they interact with the progeny, they might just straight up be like, I'm not going to interact with you. Or worst case scenario, I'm going to start fighting you. And if it's with the Lazarus and a descendant, they might have a more favorable approach. But I mean, again, with how everything is and whatnot, it tends to be that in apocalyptic type scenarios, people tend to be more xenophobic.
and
so they
do,
will want to stay with their own.
Yeah, and they do talk about later in the book, there are communities with bigotries. Like when to skip forward kind of to session 0, when you actually play your session 0, if you pick up a descendant or a progeny, your community is less likely to be bigoted, so you invite more people into your community. So I mean, of course, we all know there is power in accepting everybody's point of view, but there would be, as a story gets played out, there could totally be a fenced off village that doesn't want anything to do with anything that's not human because they're scared and xenophobic. That could totally be, and I think there are a few settings in the setting part of the book that actually give you that idea that here is the, earth for the earthlings first kind of setup, where it's anything not human is strange and alien. So there is
Well, and I
the
feel like
power for that.
and in like that community, like there's always the openly xenophobic and then the secretly xenophobic, like, oh yes, we welcome everyone, but you angelics over we have that district over there for you, like you're useful to us, so we're going to
ancestry ghettos, basically.
Yes, exactly. Like, yes, we're going to allow you because we know that you are useful or you will protect us, but we're definitely not going to treat you all. It's everyone is equal, but some people are more equal than others.
You get the most dangerous jobs, the worst provisions.
Yes, definitely. A little bit yes, that thought process.
The worst of humanity.
Yeah, but I guess playing off of this, I would like to at least go into the setting of it. So my understanding from reading this and whatnot is essentially that one big player in this game will be the undead or the zombies, essentially. And so what I easily imagine this campaign is unlike, for example, like World War Z or Left 4 Dead, where you have running zombies and and things that are basically coming at you constantly and being a threat. They're more of a, like, what I imagine, a presence in areas to where they are a hindrance and then can become dangerous in huge numbers, but overall isn't exactly like a constant threat.
They're more of a set dressing.
Shamblers. They're
yes,
shamblers.
The shamblers, exactly. And that's one thing that I do like, because having set zones or areas where you have to deal with zombies, if you kill 1 or 2 zombies, it's not an issue, right? Like, oh, we just killed a zombie or 2, they want that hard to deal with, okay. And then a few more start showing up, and then a few more and more and more, and then without realizing it, you suddenly get collapsed on from all sides with zombies. And although they might not be particularly powerful or fast, you only got so many bullets. You can only swing so many times, and there's only so much you can do before you get overwhelmed. And so I do like the fact that, yes, exactly. So I do like the fact that it's more of an overwhelming force than it just being a constant threat.
Well, and isn't that really always like most zombie tales nowadays? It's not like they're chasing after you. It's that they're coming. They might be slow, but they don't tire. Whereas we as humanity or humanoids do tire, and that's why they win.
Well, where we're building a city and building walls, they just keep coming. When we
Mhm.
sleep, they keep coming.
Hmm.
Yes. And there's
Although,
more being made all the time.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Remember,
that is
every
another
time
thing.
someone dies, they turn. It's 100% turn rate.
Grandma
Hmm.
dies in her sleep. Guess what? She's coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is one. That's it. And that's another thing that I thought was interesting because if you think about most other zombie type scenarios in like modern media, there's always the question of decay because that is always a huge thing. But
Mm-hmm.
I think this book does a really well job of answering that, saying, "Oh, the demons with their power and everything just keep it going,"
Yep.
you know, so
There's
that
hell
you can't
gates.
just wait it out.
Yeah.
There is no waiting it out. You have to deal with this threat.
Yeah, it's not a biological creation of that zombie so much as a spiritual and or supernatural manifestation that is causing the type of movement.
And when we get talking about the risen, they're actually, because these are all the risen are dead souls inhabiting dead bodies. More powerful souls can actually change the bodies they're in, which
Right.
will
So it's
totally.
not just a
It's
shoot
not
a
just.
bullet in the brain. It's
Yeah, it's not
a
just.
find the actual way to kill the soul.
And the worst thing is too, some of the risen in the risen section level up. So you have your hungry, which are your shamblers, that can decay and become weaker, because there's totally a rule that gives you, here's how for a GM you can drop their level and their CR and make them weaker. Or if a hungry eats well, it actually evolves to a famished. And then there's different evolutions of the zombies. So, like, if you've ever listened to the podcast We Live, where it's more of a mutant zombie than a zombie movie, different breeds can happen, which is cool. And then there's, of course, like a mastermind version out there, the Ravenous, that's a mass murderer soul that's taken a body back. And it's a extra special creepy version of the Risen that can actually boss the lesser ones around. So you could have a serial killer zombie stalking your players or your community, telling the lessers what to do to set up traps.
Right. And I like how detailed the trap section is in this book. I don't know that I've ever read multiple paragraphs on disarming and setting traps before in all my years of playing D&D. I don't think it's ever really been addressed as far as detailed as it is in this book.
Oh yeah, it arms the players with, here guys, here's how you make traps, because your players are going to want to make traps.
Yeah. I really, really like. I wish that this could have been my first introduction to D&D.
Because this gives you
Like,
all the keys to the kingdom.
yeah, like this is a really fun, well thought out on every level story.
So we did touch base, but let's get back to the Lazarus. We've mentioned them, but we haven't really talked about them, and they are the next
That'd be
race in the book.
creepy.
They're
Yes.
super
So
creepy. The
the
Prometheans.
Lazarus, from my understanding of it, essentially they are souls from purgatory that have come back to living bodies and have essentially become living once more.
They basically use
And
primordial energy to create a husk to inhabit.
hmm and I think one thing that is very intriguing about them is the fact of like they have their own society and their own memories of the past and whatnot.
Hmm
So you can easily have cool role play where you have a Lazarus who was alive in the Victorian times and they're suddenly back in the 21st century and going like, what the hell is this technology? I need to I need to go and like bathe in arsenic to make my skin whiter. Like,
Bring that
just
pallor back.
random information and tidbits. Or you could even have a role play where you have a dude who is from the 1100s who was a knight, and so now with the classes and whatnot in the game, they can choose to play as an architect of a knight, and so people will think, oh, they're just a weird, crazy person, when this was the actual reality for the longest time.
Hmm
I actually also really like how they have their lives, like they could have had been alive, this is their second time around, this could be their seventh time around, and it all kind of mixes around in their brain, so
hmm
they're just one massive glob of memories and experiences.
And they're inherently magical, which is cool.
Everybody loves magic, especially
Yep.
when you get these spell slots.
And I get, even if you're creepy looking, the fact that you have magic, like, well, and it's fun because like they have no hair, they have no, like, they all are short, and your person, you all, they look relatively the same unless you look at the small details.
Mm-hmm. You know, hey, look, your purple and blue veins go slightly different. You have a pattern. I can understand that.
Oh, or your veins aren't purple and blue; they're, I think, yellow was a color.
Mm-hmm.
Varying color from blue to green to yellow or even pink.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would totally be a pink one. I would.
God.
I would be totally
Pink eyes, pink
purple.
veins.
God, that would be such a trip. You're just walking by in the apocalypse, you just see a Lazarus that's just like almost completely pink, and you're just like, mate, I've had a hard day. I'm just gonna go back to my house and lay down in my straw bed.
I'm going back to the colony. I'm calling it a
Time to
do-over.
sleep.
Yep.
And then, of
Okay.
course, after the Lazarus, we've definitely touched the progeny, which is the you're born of a demon and human, because things happen.
Who
I mean,
would have
Just
guessed
because
that
you're a
humans
bad
would want?
guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Yeah, but who would guess that humans would want to screw demons? I mean, nobody's ever said that in real life or the internet.
Nope.
It's not at all a trope that is every single version of fantasy is screwing a demon.
Yeah.
Succubus and incubus for a reason.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, even one of the traits is one of lust. So straight up,
Yep.
like,
Well, and so maybe I read these different, but as I'm reading the characters, when I find a character type or a race type that I like, I immediately jump down to the types of classes you can play to
Mhm.
see what would match the story that I'm building in my head. And your guys' silence say I'm the only one that does that.
No,
Okay.
we were
No.
waiting for you to expand on
We're silent in
Yeah.
anticipation.
Oh, because like I said, when I was reading the characters, when I first was reading about the Descended, I was like, oh my goodness, that would be so cool to play as like a child of a Descended. And then I read and like, okay, so I can't be a child of a Descended. I could be a child of a demon. So then I was like, all right, let's see what the classes are, and tried to like pair them up in my head.
Mhm.
Or in like what kind of character I would build, which is why I texted what I texted about how I want to be a prodigy that is a progeny, or as a either, I feel like it's built to be a harbinger.
Mhm.
That would just make the most sense, but it'd be really, really fun to play it as a prodigy that is also a oh my goodness, conservator.
Conservator, the druid.
Yes, a druid progeny, or a, but like I said, I feel like the progeny was built to go hand in hand with the harbinger.
Oh my god, I just had a horrible thought between thinking of the two classes and a progeny. You could have a classic arrow stream with chicken legs for Baba Yaga.
That's awesome.
In this setting, you could have a
Oh,
Baba
God.
Yaga walking around her chicken-legged arrow stream. Just gonna throw that out there.
That.
You
Oh
could.
God, no! I don't even think about that.
Or you
I
could
couldn't
even
be.
you could take it further, and it's actually a beat up old nasty mobile home with chicken legs.
Oh yes.
It looks like an old hunting shack, mobile home, and it just parks wherever it needs to be in any of the
Oh no,
Darklands.
no. It's the yellowed RV that you see that's like lived at that trailer park for
Winnebago.
80 years.
The classic
Yes,
Winnebago.
yes, the
Winnebago.
I'm
Yeah,
just
but
wrong like that.
yeah, I do gotta say though, my only issue is as a D&D player and a DM and whatnot. I do feel like having only 4 races is a bit limiting. While I do understand with the setting and whatnot, I just find like having more choices is always just better for players in general, and
I
it can create a lot more there.
I
While I
will
do
throw it
admit that
out.
there,
Oh,
oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, while I do admit that there are they have lots of sub-race stuff and whatnot for each of them, especially the progeny having so many things to choose from and whatnot. Having only really 4 races you can pick does really limit the amount of extra racial improvements and also interactions that could happen in the game. Although if that is exactly what they were going for, then they did a good job doing that.
I will totally sneak it out there for the Risen that for the Kickstarter, they're actually talking about other races as new books. And they've snuck out some pictures showing other D&D races as apocalyptic versions. So that's something I think coming down the pike. So I will totally sneak that out and say that.
I do think that they did it on purpose, though, because this is only 25 years after the apocalypse. So we are living in a modern world where there's only, like, yes, it is like very Revelations apocalypse, but this is still mostly just humans. Humans are apocalypse friends and our main enemy. So 25 years after apocalypse, Earth hasn't changed that much. You know, you go 75, 120 years, 300 years, that's when there's more races that can have come through from as life has changed. But I think this was written specifically for this is Earth plus. This isn't, you know, this is still just basically the world we're in with more things trying to kill us.
I could totally
75 years from now, we're going to get Ralph Bakshi's Wizards.
Right, exactly. Like, you know, 25 years from now, in the world without an apocalypse, my cell phone might actually be built into my hand. But humans are like, you know, we're still gonna, there's not that much time to have more evolution for the races.
Because think about it, like 100 years down the line in this world, mutations might breed true, and you get offshoots and, you know, stuff like that.
Right. This is still just the beginning of the story.
And then after the races, we totally get the racial templates that you can add to yourself, which is the corrupted. If you want to go corrupt and push yourself towards one of the deadly sins, could totally see a corrupted descended. Just thinking there.
I think the idea of a pious what is it? Not descended, the other one.
The progeny?
No, the reverse.
No, the Lazarus.
Demonic. No, a pious demonic, I think would be hilarious.
Well, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a progeny arbiter, you know, basically the paladin class. You know, but I mean, like, of course, I also had a tiefling cleric who specifically looks like a devil, you know, as, you know, for a sun god, you know, type of thing, you know.
Fire demon, sun god, perfect relationship.
Like, exactly, you know.
Actually, one thing that I thought would be really funny was you are a progeny, but also are corrupted, and basically you have 2 demons, one that is your parental and one that is another demon, basically fighting for control of your soul at the same time, saying that they have a better claim on you.
That would be
good. Oh my God, mommy and daddy are fighting.
Oh, but it's daddy
and dad.
It. No, daddy and dad.
It's like, no, I own 51% of this. Soul, they're mine. It's like, no, you don't. I'm the one who made them. I made them too. Just a constant back and forth. And then you're just there going like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to go get some supplies.
Yes.
You guys fight it out. I have to go live day to day. I'll be right back.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought that, like, there were definitely some funny or very role-played serious concepts that you can do for the races.
And then the last of the races is the mutated, for those that just want to live next to a radioactive, you know, reactor and become a 3-eyed fish.
I mean, who doesn't like Fallout, right?
Yeah. But on the plus side, you get
A
regeneration.
3-armed person, I think, would be much better, to be completely honest. But I will not waste your guys's. We're already at an hour almost, so I won't waste your guys's brain power on my very long rant on why humans need 3 arms and how I hope that's our next mutation. Just know that it exists.
I'll up your 3 and I'll say we need 4 arms. Let's be honest.
Now we need a third eye. We need to open our wisdom, gain that
Yeah,
intelligence.
there we go.
Some people don't have wisdom to gain, though.
Hey, we can let them believe at least.
Right.
So
And
of
that was
course,
one of the things I liked about original Gamma World was rolling the mutations. I thought it made for. I mean, you can make some terrible combinations, but you could also have some very interesting results.
immediately you've broken your character.
Yeah,
In the best way possible.
I mean, when my sister was rolling up a character in Gamma World, old school Gamma World years ago, she actually rolled a mutated owl that was afraid of the dark, like terrified. I'm
I
like,
love it.
what is that's just like talk about the ultimate F you to you. Like,
I love it. That's
So
perfect.
then
That's
we jump
perfection.
into the classes, which are similar to what we're used to in D&D, but they've got the apocalyptic spin.
Oh my. Okay, so I need to go on the enforcer, okay? Because first of all, why is it? It's the fighter. Like it has 7 ASIs. That's so many ASIs, man. And I'm just going like, they can get everything. They can get all the custom feats and the D&D feats. They can get all the ability score improvements. They can get everything.
If you want to survive, you play an enforcer. I mean, just like the picture, badass motherfucker,
yeah. Although I would just as a for the speaking of the book, editing and wise, I like how they handled the classes because each class is its own section and they have all the spells and all the stuff right there. Whereas like in other ones where you have to like, oh, well, let me flip to the back of the book to get to spells. This one actually puts things in that section. So I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I really found this was an easy book to read and to flip through. Like I said, like when I this is maybe a race I want to play. What matches better? It felt very easy to kind of when you have to flip, that it was easy to flip through and you didn't have to go to multiple spots to get one answer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like have your fingers in 4 different places in the book just to like have, okay, yes, this is the one thing I want to do.
And the first class we've got is the Arbiter, which is a warrior of faith and justice. We may know that class from D&D. They do have some really cool changes on how their smite works and the touch of justice and weapon of justice. I do like how they did that you can spend extra economy points to help your friends and hinder your enemies in the same shot, which I thought was really cool. That whole light and balance.
So one thing that I do like, so the weapon of justice for the class is basically you sacrifice your max hit points to basically get bonuses for the weapon, and one of them at level 16 is that, at level 19 is that when you go down, essentially your weapon can still be up and it can actually attack or whatnot. So for a really funny thing, if you want to, you can make your weapon of justice like a semi-automatic weapon. And so when you go down as an arbiter, you just have your submachine gun just still floating there, and it's just shooting at the enemies. So then they actually have to kill you to deal with the weapon, because
Make
even
it
if you're
stop.
down,
Make it stop.
yeah, exactly. Even if you're down, you're not out of the fight.
The best part would be as you were holding your gun shooting from a trench and you get dropped to 0 and you let go of the weapon and it floats in the air, continuing to shoot as you are now hidden in the trench, protected by its dimensions. Now they have to come up to the trench, fight the gun placement, and attack the guy that's passed out on the ground.
God, just imagine if you had the Browning and it's just constantly shooting even when you're down. like it's like it's D-Day, except you're actually on the defending side, so you can actually survive.
Yep. Your people will take care of you while the gun keeps shooting. And of course, I like how each character gets that picture at the very beginning, of hey, here's what you do.
Yes.
Whether you're
The
good or bad, which is an interesting twist from D&D, is they give bad options because it's the apocalypse and alignments don't matter.
Yeah, like the Arbiter, which is the quote-unquote paladin, actually does have a tainted smite instead of the holy smite that you could use.
Mm-hmm. And I like how they have the little piece of paper in the typeface that just shows a brief excerpt of a type of arbiter doing something to give people an idea or the essence of what that arbiter can be or do. It just kind of like sets it in. You're like a human with shield made from a car door in one hand and a machete in the other, drops to their knees next to the big comrade. The machete glows with the hue of otherworldly light as they touch their comrade with the flat of the blade. Faithful energy, healing injury. That type of. It's evocative. It's evocative.
I loved it.
And gives the person an imagery that then they can relate to. So, and gives them, oh, okay, I see. I mean, something like that. And they do that for each of the classes. I liked that.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I got to notice with the Arbiter is that even though it's a half caster, it goes up to level 6.
Oh, for its casting tree, yeah.
Yeah, so like that does give it some extra oomph and power that like many times in D&D is lacking for most of the classes and or subclasses.
Mm-hmm. Then we get the conservator, the junkyard hippie, I guess you'd call them.
Yes.
Oh well, I would say less junkyard, more Mother Nature hippie.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a normal hippie.
I'm just looking at the picture with his junkyard shield.
It takes a lot of dedication to nature to be in the middle of the apocalypse and be like, no, I'm still going to be going after, I'm gonna try to fix the nature, the world that we're in. Well, y'all try to fix the world we're in. I'm gonna fix the actual world.
Mm-hmm. And from a conservator point of view, think about it. Now with the Darklands and the mutated areas, the new world is the world for them. So you could actually have like a dark conservator wanting to protect the new things out there, which could be interesting.
Yeah. Or it not even as a dark conservator, just someone who because that's the true mindset is all life is worth preserving. That's the true druidic way that they, that the person that plays a druid who won't kill, like that's being true to character, so no, it doesn't matter if it's, nature has made it this way now, so we're going to keep this one just as safe as our normal old-fashioned bunny.
Your hungry survivors come across an apple orchard and it's got a conservator that says, you need to go plant 20 trees for each apple you picked.
Yes.
You need to Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I also do like the fact that it actually has spirits and summons that you can use for the class. So, if you need any particular animal or whatnot for a specific task, you can summon them and use them.
Because they totally do the totem warrior thing of, here's my totem, friend who's going to help me do things. Because sometimes you just need a spirit badger.
Mm-hmm. So it did feel a little Native American in execution, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it did the picture is not your traditional Native American, but like the totems, it had a very Native American feel to it. And like the other images in that class, still it all looks like, if not Native American, it looks like kind of like Mayan, like that very, like that statue looks like Aztecian
Yeah,
to me.
that little lion or dog statue.
Yeah,
Yeah, it definitely has that Mayan, carving style.
yeah.
But I mean, they're evocative of a number of different like indigenous, like Inuit, and I mean, it also has that kind of feel, or even the Maori, uh, uh, that type of sculpture.
Hmm.
So I think that they're just going for a generalized, but
I
you
mean, at
know,
level 19, you can summon Thunderbird. That says a lot right there.
yeah.
And I do love how, I don't think we said it on the earlier class, but how each one has its athema of like for the druid here, it's got the prime departure that if you ever willingly create or help an undead creature, you lose your stuff. You know,
Oh
that you
yeah, yeah.
that every one of the caster groups has some kind of fallen part of them. So if a druid helps an undead, nope, sorry, they're not natural. You gotta put those things down.
Right. It's a consequence for going against your
Uh huh.
nature, which not
Exactly.
a lot of D&D worlds give you that. It's like, like it's like a little slap on the hands, or this is an actual consequence.
Yeah, like D&D's kind of gotten away with it from it big time for the paladins. They're less rigid in their orders, but now it's like, okay, if your guy does this, there's going to be consequences. You need to know about that, which could totally be great story fuel right there. I mean, that could be a good thing.
Right? There's so many different ways this can go.
Hmm. And then we get
Um,
back to the enforcer who we talked about, but then comes the harbinger, and the picture is just creepy as hell. He's he's
yes.
he's like that nutty professor with a knife and some books of evil.
I don't know. He just looks like a college professor to me. So
You know what he reminded me of was Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. It's like if his skin was blue.
Uh-huh.
See, he kind of reminded me of that guy from Breaking Bad. It was also
Oh,
that Malcolm in the Middle.
uh-huh.
oh, Walter White.
Yes, there you
Ah,
go.
yes.
A Lazarus of Walter White.
Yes, trading the college for a high school teacher.
And they of course get the
I love all
reckless
those little
casting.
post-it stuff on the, and the pens and the, yeah, I can totally see it. The cargo pants, the
Yep.
One thing I'm liking about these classes is that when they do add unique features and whatnot, they're really unique.
Yeah,
And they are really outside the box.
they're definitely on par for the setting to give flavor to the setting. Because anything that can be a player class, they totally will have an NPC version that could be fun and cool to use against the group. And then we have the Hound. How many people would take their
Hold on
Hound?
a second. Your name. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I was noticing. I love how they leave the artist's print on each of the images. And when I scrolled in on one, I saw your name, Jim, and I was like, hold on a second. But it was below the signature of the artist,
Yep,
which is a different thing
it's actually
altogether.
because it's my copy. It actually labels whose copy of the PDF it is.
Yeah, no, I realized I was about to say, hold on, I didn't know you could draw like this, Jim. But
Oh,
then
I
my
wish
common
I could
sense
draw
clicked
like
in.
that. A mutant hound with horns and a crocodile tail. That would be awesome.
Right? Ugh.
are they mutant or are they progeny? It could be
Are
either.
they both?
Could be either
Because their
or.
progeny are alike.
Uh
Oh, that would be so cool. Mutated with crocodile DNA.
huh. When your
I've
mother
seen
was
that
pregnant with
Spider-Man
you, she
movie.
ate too much crocodile.
I gotta say, that would be the funniest thing, that you actually get a swim speed, and then you just do the thing that, like, crocodiles, alligators do, where they have the head, but the body just, like, forward and straight up in the water, and you're
The
just
jazz
floating along that
hands.
way.
Jazz hands. I swim by the power of jazz hands. I mean, if you've ever watched them when they do that, they sprawl their fingers. And if you can catch
I'm
them in a
gonna try to
current,
swim like that.
and of course, we get cool things for the ranger, which like gun grapple. I thought that was cool. That you can grapple while holding a one-handed ranged weapon. So we're basically getting gun kata for all those Equilibrium fans out there.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Equilibrium.
Gun grapple levels up too. After successfully escaping an opponent's grapple, you may, as a bonus action, attempt to grapple the creature or opponent. And the fact that while you're grappling, you can shoot them point blank, not at disadvantage.
Man,
That's
just imagine
awesome.
you have an Uzi just straight to the head while
I'm
grappling.
I'm thinking gun grapple would be the best thing in a zombie apocalypse, because think of how many zombies want to grapple you, and you're shooting them away while they're trying to grab you. You just say nope. And then we've got the this world's version of the rogue, the jackal.
The Jackal's actually by far my favorite class, and then specifically for one thing. So in this setting, specifically for your colony, you have to scavenge a lot to gain resources.
Uh-huh.
And this class is the scavenger class. And so
It
that's
is
one thing I
totally.
love about homebrew settings is when DMs and people who are making the setting add classes that really add extra benefits to the world that is outside combat.
Hmm. And one thing I like too is they changed the rogue's thieves cant to jackal tags. So basically, you can communicate by leaving tags around places, which comes in super handy in an apocalyptic thing. Because if you've ever watched The Walking Dead, you totally see that where they leave the hobo marks, the old-fashioned hobo marks that they used to use to say like "Lady feeds travelers." You can totally use your jackal's tags just like that. Don't trust these people.
Hmm.
And
Or
it's a
like
secret
even as
code.
directions and stuff. Or one thing that I think would be interesting for the setting is essentially if you find a place that could give like a quote unquote permanent salvage
Uh huh.
that you can like put tags towards the location so people can go and get stuff from it and have a constant stream of people getting stuff and coming back.
Yeah, you could do a
Or
supply
jackal
drop.
caching.
Yeah, Jackal Cash. That's the title for it.
Yeah,
Jackal Cash
jackal
inside
caching.
under the register. Because who touches a register in a abandoned shopping center? Nobody needs money except for toilet paper.
Yeah. So I mean, come on, think about it. I mean, scavengers would cache,
Uh
um, and instead of like the modern geocaching, you have jackal caching.
huh. And I do love the profession path of the jackal. Maximum effort. And then we've got the Maverick, which honestly is one of my favorite classes, because of course it's the gun class. It really is. It's the monk with pistols. You get the extra attacks, you got the focusing, the premonition because you see trouble coming.
I mean, Gungo Pew Pew is very fun.
Yep. I mean, the hard part is, when you get to pick your abilities, you have trick shots for the exhibition shooting, but you have a limited number you can pick at a time. Like my personal favorite would be to take counter shot that you can use your reaction to shoot someone back. Or the hey, I can use my gun to draw attention.
I do like covering fire, which can give your party just that little bit extra
Oh heck
to
yeah.
do something.
And then we have the shepherd. Beware the holy men in charge.
I kind of think of this as kind of like a bard class, but instead of music and stuff, they do evangelical oration and sermons.
Uh-huh. And I have to admit the faith pool is an interesting idea because that way you have instead of the usual channel divinity from D&D, you have a pool of points that you can use for doing things, and as you level, it gets better and better.
Yes, that is also a change that I do really like about it.
And it gives you that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was also going to say I do like the spells that this class does get.
Oh yeah, and the fact that it embraces either purification or taint. You could have a good one or a corrupted one, which is nice. And then, of course, they've got specific performances that they can do, which is always nice because when you can stop people from fighting, that shouldn't be fighting because, guys, the Risen are encroaching while we're fighting. Like any episode of The Walking Dead, we're arguing and there's zombies coming. And then we've got the weirdest class of the group, which is the Splicer. The wizard class that mixes technology and magic.
Well, Artificer is very popular, so
Yep.
might as well include a type of that.
And on top of it, if you're needing someone to fix modern day technology, the Splicer has the gearhead features, so that makes life a little better there that you can have them slap equipment together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
like
like,
one thing I thought about with this class is that you could have like an overall campaign goal basically be like to get internet working in your colony again.
oh, that would be huge.
Yeah, because if you could actually gain access to information and stuff, you can exponentially grow to a very successful rate. And so, you can go with more of the magical aspects of this where like they could want to, for example, make a planar travel or travel to certain places easier, or you could go more technology focused, which I do like.
I mean, think about it. At your lower level, the mission could totally be of we need to fix that dam or fix that windmill or fix those solar panels to get power, and then we need to find a server room, and then we need to reconnect the utilities from one area to another.
Mm-hmm. Or if you come across some old technology that you don't know about because you're one of the new people on the block, one of the young folks who have been born during the rise.
Yep, I jokingly like how they listed at one section the generational phrase is pre-risen or post-risen. If you're 35, you're pre-risen. You remember what electricity is like.
Yeah, I would have to say if I was in this setting, I'd rather be a post-risen because, oh God, I would miss so many things.
Yeah.
If you don't know about the modern conveniences, you don't feel their loss.
Exactly.
It just
Children
is the way
adapt
it is.
easier.
And of course, then it brings us to your humanity. So instead of alignments, you have your personalities. You've got your negative reactions and positive reactions, which is if you're looking to flush out your character, that's a great way of doing it. And then comes the backgrounds, which I like how they condense the backgrounds because we all know backgrounds in D&D will give you a skill, a proficiency, possibly language, and some more gear. So they shrunk it down so it eats up less space in the book. So you've got your swamper, your bushwhacker, civil servant because you'll know we'll need those in the apocalypse still. Darklanders for those living out in the wastelands, your desert rats, your expert, your farmhand, because I'm sorry, you need a farmhand in the group. That's all there is to it. Your grifter, your marauder, mechanic, medic. Totally need one of those too. Militia members, mountaineers, nomad, performer, plains person, a preacher. The scavenger, you totally need that.
I also do like how for each of these backgrounds and whatnot, there's actually a feature that you can pick for them.
Yep.
If you want to instead. So kind of how like in D&D, for example, you have the noble background, but you could choose knight as
Uh-huh.
as a sub feature instead of just being a regular noble. They have the same thing for these backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly. And then one thing I do love that they have in this book that regular D&D really does not do well with is the sanity, insanity, and madness. They give you the checks and say, "Oh, and these are the things that will make things harder to do." And then they actually, of course, give you recovery rules and how to recover from it.
Hmm. And one thing that I found hilarious when I was reading through the insanity section is that they were mentioning basically about how with insanity you can use like actual like median horror stuff. So I can just imagine that you guys are just survivors going along trying to scavenge, and then one day you come across a well, and then a girl with black hair starts crawling out of it. Like if I saw that in an apocalypse, I would, yeah, that's easily a check that I would have to go through. Like I would be freaking out if anything else.
And see, the beauty is that could interpret to both that certain movie whose title rings true, or that one season of The Walking Dead when they had one in the well. Is it a demon
Either
or
way,
is it a risen?
either way, it's a no no. It's a no no thing, and I want to get out of here.
It's a straight nope. And then, of
Yep.
course, we've got setting specific feats, which is nice. And they do expand on a modern day version for D&D for tools and proficiency kits, which is nice. Because they basically tell you, hey, here's what performers would use, here's what professionals would use for different things, vehicle toolkits. So that way, when your character, because y'all know me in D&D games, I'm asking you, are you proficient in that toolkit? And everybody's like, where are those in the character sheets again? Because we're not used to using those rather than just skills.
Hmm. Yeah. And another thing that I like with all this Insanity Madness one is disorders.
Yeah.
Because imagine you're playing a Descendant who's already lost the memory, and then you roll like a 5 on a D100 and you get amnesia. Oh boy.
I don't even know what I am.
All of a
Really
sudden,
hitting the memory right there.
like the camera pans into your eye, and all of a sudden, your mind just shrinks down to nothing inside your hollow head, going, "Who am I? Are we doing this again? We're doing this again, aren't we?" And then we get to the skills and tools section where they kind of cover classic rules again, which is great. And then the section for the trading posts. And on that page, I love that they've got the blacksmith's wrought iron knife that we've all seen blacksmiths make because they're cool, where you basically turn a wrench
Oh,
or
yeah.
a railroad spike into a knife with that cool bent handle. Because, and it gives you the breakdown of what they mean by instead of, since we can't have gold coin as currency in this setting, that resources is the new currency. So you have, and they make sure to leave it generic for players and GMs, so that way I can just say, you find 5 consumable resources. And the player can say, I found a can of potatoes and a couple half eaten apples. Perfect. That's 5 resources. And you've got your combustible, which players can totally turn into weapons. So it means you find some gas, some oil, some batteries, something that combusts. You've got consumable, which is something you can eat. You've got the renewable resource materials. And then I love how they give you the rules for how you can make combustible resources into a weapon, whether it's just a strict cocktail bomb or something better. And then you get the, hey, here's what a farm or ranch would produce for you if you use it. So that way your GM totally has access to, hey, here's what I can provide you guys. Or like if you had that campaign where you want to get the World Wide Web up, a power plant. How much power and goods does a power plant generate? Which makes the crunchy math part of the game so much easier. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
y'all want to build a water wheel and, find some way of turning it with something that's water-like. And then they give you the breakdown of, hey, if you would like to buy these items, here's what it costs in resource as the currency. because they give you the classic armor rules. And one thing I do love about this, because not only do they show some cool pictures of weapons that are basically cobbled together, but they have modifications for weapons. Which, I'm sorry, as a post-apocalyptic game, I love the mods. I mean, you guys know me from Genesis. I love the Genesis system because it's mod friendly.
Yeah, moddable weapons are just such a cool thing. Like, especially in this world. Like, why not take a few batteries and then just try to make your wrought iron knife deal electric damage, you know?
Yep.
Except some wires and everything on it. I mean, if it explodes in your hand or accidentally electrocutes you, stuff
These
happens.
things happen. Let's hope you can take a Risen out with you, right?
Exactly. I mean, you're playing as the Arbiter, though. Even if you go down, you're good to go.
Hey, the weapon is still doing its job. And of course, they give different weapon properties based on, what you build it with. Because, of course, there is some new crazy materials out there now thanks to the corruption and the mutation. And it definitely gives a good solid punch in the equipment section to survival gear. Because, of course, let's be honest, of the tiers of exploration, social, and fighting, the survival aspect of exploration is huge. And again, I come to that cool picture of somebody's rifle that's got a buzzsaw blade attached to it on page 221. You can never go wrong with that weapon, I'm just saying.
I mean, it works in Gears of War, so.
Yeah. And they also give rules for prosthetics in the game.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I do like, because then it also means that there is more threat to you than just dying, that you can actually lose body parts.
Yep, and there's ways to work around that,
Yeah, because usually in D&D, if you lose body parts or have some disease or whatnot, it's the classic, oh, we have a cleric, or oh, we go to a cleric and pay them. But in this setting, nope, it's not really accessible. And that's one thing that I also noticed from the spell list, is that they toned down a lot of the spells that are available so that you could only do so much.
Mm-hmm. There's no constantly getting healed back after back.
You get healed, but you don't get your limb back.
Yep, there's no perfect heal to make you 100%. You're going to have to find somebody to cobble a new weapon arm together, which they do have modifications for those prosthetics to make them weaponized. And then we've got the vehicle section with a ton of vehicle mods, because your group is eventually going to get a party vehicle that is totally going to get weaponized to be used for them driving through the not safe places.
I mean, who doesn't want a Winnebago, Just driving around, hopping, taking stuff.
I mean, here's a flashback to the old D20 books, the post-apocalyptic one, where you could totally have a demonically possessed vehicle to contend with out on the highway.
Christine?
Yep. It's totally based on Christine.
Oh my god, a possessed vehicle.
Hey, if your holy magic or unholy magic can possess your weapon to fight after death, there could totally be a demon-possessed vehicle. Think about it. Years ago, the vehicle ran into a demon crawling out of a hellhole and smashed it into a brick wall, and slowly its rotting demonic corpse has grown into the engine. It doesn't know what it is, but it knows it wants to bring pain.
Yeah, but I do gotta say, this setting really allows for just any type of scenarios or plot to really occur. From basically saving the world to, I just want to make it to tomorrow.
Yeah, it could totally be like the Walking Dead season where there's a goal this season, or we just trying to survive to the end. And then the magic section has all the magic you could want. I'm trying to zip through that pretty quick. But it is a huge section of this book. Because then we get to a really great GM section on setting scenes and narration, which everybody for this type of setting, you do need to know how to do horror and setting mood at the table, because it can't be all pretzels and giggles because you got to set the seriousness, and then
Yeah.
retreat to your pretzels and giggles when you get to 2/10 of a moment. And of course, they break out with the new rules of familiarity, mastery, and expertise. So those can definitely help characters. And the highlights to the insanity system. Then we get to make sure you narrate your rules. You narrate the equipment people find. My battle axe is not a battle axe. It's really a welded stop sign that's been sharpened. Because you find weapons wherever you can. And they give rules for starting at higher levels because we all know at first level, the tutorial levels might just get you killed.
Yeah, this setting definitely doesn't have to hold punches. So.
Well, it is an apocalyptic setting, so the fact that it's not gonna hold back. I mean, it's a deadly. It's the apocalypse. People are going to die. The majority of people do not have a long lifespan or long expected longevity.
And one nice thing they do give in the NPC section is it actually teaches GMs how to make higher level PCs and what abilities that they may have, which is cool. From a GM's point of view, it's totally nice when you have something you can plug and play into your setting and not have to come up with everything from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Or tinker around it and whatnot and make specialized stuff.
Yep. And then we get the scavenging section where it helps the GM of, so here is what in the DMG would have been the loot section. Here is the scavenged items. Because, you actually can have magic items drop, or it's technology that's reminiscent to magic items. Though I do love in the equipment section, they've got that cat with the eye patch and the thieves' tools on it.
Oh, yeah.
I totally want a familiar that can carry my thieves' tools just in case. And then we get to my favorite part that when I read this, I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. The session 0 for this game. So before we recorded, I totally was chatting about the session 0 is the session 0 is basically going back in time 25 years to the day the risen apocalypse happens. And on that day, there are 25 people on a city bus in the middle of whatever city the group picks as this is the city we want as the nearby ruins or near-ish. And then on that day, there's a bus driver, who's your GM basically, and 25 passengers. The players will pick one of these passengers for themselves. You can either roll percentile or you can totally just pick. And all it gives you is the passenger, like the ruffian, and what their personality type is. And that's all you need to role play this is to know which passenger you are. Are you the nurse number 1? Are you the mechanic? And what your personality is. And as you play this game, session 0 comes out that you're driving the bus out of the apocalypse. There's explosions, there's zombies, there's demons, there's people falling from the sky, landing and getting up. The apocalypse is in full swing. And as you're in the bus, realizing we got to get the hell out of here, and the bus driver's totally doing that whole speed thing. That in my head, I saw the driver from Speed, sitting there panicking, driving with all the people in the back of the bus, and the GM will roll random encounters, or they can pre-roll, which honestly I would say pre-roll to make life easier at the table. And as the bus pulls up, you say, hey guys, you see an incredible column of white light flash down from the sky in front of the bus, and immediately a naked man seems to appear there. For a brief moment, you all looked and you could have swore you saw he had wings of some sort. But all of a sudden, as the light fades, the wings fade into nothingness. The person appears very confused and don't know their whereabouts. What do you do? And as the GM, the bus driver looks back at all of you guys and says, do we stop or do we go? And then, the group as a whole decides, do we stop and get this person on the bus or do we say, gun it? And that's going to take effects at the very end of session 0 as the GM notes. Did you rescue the angel? Because I'll totally say, if you stop to help him, what and you'll roll in this case, a 1d6 if you decided to stop. You guys and 6 other people come running off the bus to see this guy's weirdness. I will tell you, if you stop the bus, one of the passengers will totally pull off his clothes and throw them on the angel and say, let's get him on the bus. But if you don't stop, well, that's fine. The angel just gets attacked by Risen and probably dies or lives. You'll never know. But at the end of the session 0, you'll find out now you have a descendant with the group. So your colony you're going to build is more open to accepting fallen angels. Which will totally have, guess what? Your population increases by 5% because you're open to the idea of accepting angels.
Mhm.
Which I think is a cool rule because, and there's multiple encounters you guys are going to be encountering. Like one is you stop off at either the bus driver stops and hits the brakes and says, we need to grab supplies. And you all look to the left, there's a gun store. You all look to the right, there's a tool store. You only have time to go to one. And you have to pick, are we getting guns or are we getting tools? The nice thing is the players are all safe. Your GM during session 0 can tell you none of you will die. The problem is, y'all pick the gun store. You all run into the gun store. During the gun store, the GM's going to have someone roll a dice, and there's a chance one of the NPCs that went with you dies.
Ah.
So at the end, whatever they were, if it was Nurse 1 and Nurse 2 that went off on a mission and they both died, you don't have health care for your colony. But there is one that you guys see an ambulance where the drivers are being eaten by Risen. Do you grab medical supplies? Yes or no? If at the end of this, both nurses survive and you grab the medical supplies, you guys now have a fully functioning medical unit at the colony 25 years later.
Yeah, but the HMO will kill you.
However,
I couldn't resist.
as a GM, I will totally throw it out there. If you go and get the ambulance supplies, you can use those supplies in session 0 to save a dead member of the group that gets killed. You can say, we'll sacrifice the medical supplies to say the nurse patched them up and they lived through the experience. But different, there's a huge random percentile list of things and everything reflects at the end of session 0 because then as soon as you guys pick your characters and you guys pick your hunters for your group, you find out how 25 years ago this fledgling group of survivors on a bus are affecting the colony that you're now living in. Because on top of everything else, depending on the survivors' personalities, the GM adds up the math of how many people are controlling, how many people are outgoing, how many people are relaxed, how many people are exacting, and how many people are adaptive. And they add that up, and that tells you what your government is in the colony. Whether it's ran by a religious group or if it's actually led by a group of elders. So what you end up at the end of session 0 is the community at the end for your colony. So depending on your choices, like say your group gets tactical and it's like, oh, screw this, I'm going to play nurse 1, you should play nurse 2, we got to make sure the nurses survive. Or, hey, screw this, I want to make sure the cops survive so we have law and order. Or maybe I want the homeless guy to live because he's got survival skills. And as that plays out through session 0, that's your player's colony. So it directly relates to them. And depending on what survivors you rescue, because there's something like 20 survivors that you can pick up, and they add to the group's personality trait for your survival colony. Like if you, at one point, there's one where a nun tries to put a baby that you think has a tail in the bus. If you take that baby, you now have progeny in your colony. That child was the first progeny your group met, and you now accept these children. You realize that they are just children they're just looking different. They're not possessed of evil. They're normal freaking kids. And depending on each scenario, different results happen for your colony.
I'm just letting you know, if I do play this game, if our government is an HOA, I'm burning down that colony immediately.
Well, because HOAs are inherently evil.
Apparently, your colony is in a hospital compound led by the CEOs of the for-profit corporation. I mean,
No,
hospital.
not HMO, HOA.
Oh, the power of
I
the
can handle a corporate entity. I cannot handle an HOA. Okay, no, those things are pure evil. Okay, even demons would be like, "Are you okay?"
They're
So
like, no,
this is when you
hell
find
no.
out who the controlling personalities are, and you make sure they get bumped off in session 0.
HOA, it's the governor.
That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, but going into the colony building, I do like it because in one section talks about how there's different colony types, and one of them is bigoted, and then it says description: "This is America."
Yeah,
And
that one hurt. It wasn't wrong, but it hurt.
Oh no, I was thinking of the Donald Glover song.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it is nice, and I do also like how your colony can change and grow over time. So you could start out with like 1 or 2 traits, and then essentially you get to a few more depending on how the campaign goes. So it's not just really a static thing. It can be a huge change over time to where, like, for example, your colony does start out bigoted, but then through events and whatnot, they become xenophile.
Yeah, basically you got rescued by someone, you realize, okay, you saved our bacon, maybe we were wrong. And let's be honest, in real life, that's how that happens, you know. And then it slips into the environments, the Darklands, which are ooky corrupted places. It gives you details for creating mutation out there. Like if you've ever watched The 100, you know how that goes. Post-apocalyptic, things have happened. And that is actually where they hide the mutation tables, which are massive.
Mm-hmm.
Extra limbs is always a good thing because we know somebody likes that third limb.
I mean, it helps, holding stuff.
And then there's some nasty. See, there you go. You roll one, which is multiple limbs, and then you roll another one, which is limb loss. So you had 4 arms, but you lost one, so now you're down to 3.
I mean, can't you just amputate one of them? I mean, just do the classic Viking heat up axe and boop, chop it off. There you go.
And then we get a huge breakdown of the Americas and other places, which is a massive section. Oh, and then you get that picture with the Lazarus.
It was gigantic, and the part that I really liked about it is the fact that they basically went through every single state and like where multiple colonies are in those states. So like they also tie them to a specific place and whatnot. Like for example, there's a colony near and on Mount Rushmore, which would make sense because America. Why wouldn't Americans want to make a colony there?
Yep.
I mean, it is really good for, and even talks about stuff like, for example, how it has, how can have a bit more safety because it is literally up higher on elevation points, so it's harder for essentially zombies or demons or any other potential threats to sneak up on it.
And they give breakdowns too of like different places where the Darklands are in different states. One of my favorite ones is Tombstone, Arizona. Because we're from Arizona. For one, they talk about how Tombstone survived the Rising pretty well because they were well armed and knew how to use guns. So when the zombies pop up, they done shut them. But their government in Tombstone is secret except for the locals. Only the locals know there is a council of ghosts from Tombstone's past that run the city. Basically, and there's rumor that Doc Holliday is one of those ghosts. So there's some idea fuel for anybody in any setting that You mean we could totally have spirits of the past? Yes, yes, you can have spirits of the past.
Oh my god, I just thought about interesting but horrible scenario is that you have to fight a demon who's controlling dead Confederate soldiers and generals of the past.
Oh, see, that's adventure fuel right there.
Yes, that's really good adventure for you, but also like, uh, really, they brought the Confederates back? Okay, wait.
This could be dangerous. We're treading on dangerous land.
And the
I
worst
just
part
had
about it is, of course, you'd be part of a community or colony that is a xenophile and has basically
yeah.
every race. So then the Confederate Vision have even more of a reason to kill you, more than just any other one.
I just had visions of Ron Burgundy too,
Oh,
where they have the big battle and there's the Confederate ghost, killing
Oh
people.
god, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, because he's representative of the History Channel. Oh my! I just literally saw that in my mind.
and this is why we remember history so we don't repeat that shit.
Oh, that also reminds me, somebody could easily put in like an ancient aliens thing where like it actually was a thing that there were ancient aliens, and now that this isn't apocalypse is happening, that they're just there now, and so we're now dealing with that. Like they're trying to build another pyramid, and then actual historians are like, "Wait, no, it was built by Egyptians. No, this is not possible."
And there's one guy. See, I told you. I told you.
He's got big hair and he puts his hand out and says, aliens.
He's got really, really crazy hair.
Looks like a Mimbari from Babylon 5. And of course, then the book goes into the multiverse, which that could always be an interesting way of taking things because you can go into different locations from this place. Not that I think you would ever want to. You don't want Cthulhu stuff. The world is bad enough.
Yes, why not? Just throw in some Cthulhu there, What? It's already bad. What worse could happen, right?
And,
I mean,
and
it's
the,
not like he's gonna summon his god.
the Fae is the one that worries me. It's like, oh God, you're bringing you're bringing Feywild into this. I mean, think about it. You have one forest fire that, because of the massive flame, breaks a portal into the elemental plane of fire. You constantly have this fire tornado in the middle of this burnt forest, and now you have a permanent portal to the elemental fire.
Yeah, like one thing I was thinking of is early with the traps and setting it up and everything that we do the classic Roman burning ball of hay.
Oh,
Just like
uh-huh.
throwing it down on zombies, and then it just creates a citywide fire that just burns everything to dust, and then afterwards you're like, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And then I just found a horrific picture on page 470 where it's in the Darklands, obviously, because there's a flying demon and the city's all gooey and ooey. This pack of four-eyed wolves took down a deer or an elk. But when you look at the deer that they've killed, it's got shark teeth and spiky, leathery hooves.
Also,
Just to,
its eyes are facing forward. It is not prey. It is a predator.
it is not a prey animal. Just to show you how much the Uki mutation stuff is going on in the Darklands. So if you don't want to use zombies as the pinnacle of the adventure, you could go demonic dark forest, which is nice. Depending on what aspect you're wanting to embrace for your game.
I just noticed that in the background, there's actually a temple-looking statue. If they built the pyramids, I swear, man.
And then on chapter 12, you get to the Beastiary, the catalog of beasts, and it breaks their baddies down to the damned, the Darklands, the dead, and the paradox. Which I think they're going to be adding more because I know the paradox there's only one, and that's a Wendigo, and the Wendigo are never good. So it gives you a nice taste of demonic stuff that will be popping up in the game if you choose, including some cute little demons. They're cute. They're horrible. They got barbed wire for tail. Creepy spider demon. The fire urchin, which is the creepiest thing ever. It's like a sea urchin is glowing red on fire, but it has a tentacle coming out of the top with its mouthy eyeball thing. And by the way, they burn everything down.
Of
They're
course they do.
because, demons. And then, of course, you get to see that there's pine trees with mouths that talk. The siren pine. Just what we need, something else in the Darklands to lead us off into the woods, where there's two-headed badgers out there. Like badgers aren't bad enough. You give them two heads, so they have multi-attack. And
I just realized that because of the setting and whatnot, it would be very easy, especially with this, to incorporate a whole bunch more of like horror movie or like horror setting stuff. Like lots of SCP things would work well for this, or
oh, yeah,
or
that
like Siren Head, for example, just to end the Darklands. You just hear a siren going off.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is that's another thing I really like about it. It's just so easy to add a whole bunch of like modern day horror fantasy stuff.
And the nice thing with the Darklands and the mutation, you can totally use anything that's in the actual monster manual, which is fantastic because you can basically just shave off the numbers and describe to the players what they see, and that's something you just imported straight from the monster manual, or any of the other D&D stuff. Like if you look at the third edition or 3.5 edition, you could totally take things from Monster Manual 2 or 3 out of there that have more Cthulhu feel. And then you have the apparitions for the ghosts. What I love about the apparitions section is it's not just like in D&D Monster Manual, here's an apparition. It actually gives you the level of the person dying. Here's what their stats would look like, level 1 to 20. So you could, in theory, have your players murder someone and their spirit comes back. And by using higher level spirits, it actually progresses with the players that they're not just going to look and go, oh, it's a banshee. After level 3, we can kill those easy. Which that's always when you want to keep the power level of the baddies keeping up with the players, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. And I could definitely turn into one of the situations where it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yep. And I'm sorry, on page 499, the specter there that looks at some woodsman hunter gun nut is absolutely freaking terrifying. It's the purple specter with the hoodie
I
and
mean, the
all
fact
of
that
the
it can
weapons.
use all those weapons is kind of scary.
That's the scary part. He's coming at you with a hatchet with a knife built into it, and he's got a, single shot flintlock pistol and a 6-shooter on him and a crossbow behind him. Ghost arrows. Those gotta hurt.
And to top it off, another 2 knives, because, you can never have enough
Because
knives. And I just noticed he has a bandolier with grenades on it.
he's ridiculous.
Spectral grenades. Now that's cursed.
And then, of course, they give you the emotes of dread, so that we've got more spooky, scary ghost stuff to bring out to your players. The absolutely horrifying Sharknado of a legendary action spirit tornado, where it's got like 5 or 6 ghosts, poltergeisting all the items. Because think about it, a lot of people are dying pretty horribly in this setting. So just because your body's now being possessed by some undead spirit and now becoming a zombie, your spirit's still free to go become its own character now. Congratulations. And when it comes to the addition of the Risen, they have rules to take any of the Risen in the book and then make them decayed, which means basically they have not been feeding, so they're falling apart. And it basically reduces their hit points and stuff. And you can also bolster them by making them infected. There's something, called the rot flies, and they can infest zombies with their larvae, which is nasty. It's definitely something you don't want to get infected with, and it's got like day one of the infection, you're hallucinating. And as the risen go, the strongest of the risen is the depraved. That's the one I was telling you guys earlier about, where like a serial killer or a mass murderer comes back, and they actually and I'm sorry, the depraved would be a great foil for the player group because it's an intelligent undead that can boss the dumb ones around. So he could be stalking your colony, slowly watching how the colony works, setting up a few mastermindy little traps or ambushes. Like think I Am Legend, the leader one amongst the infected. All of a sudden you guys are having routine, and all of a sudden, oh, look, your routine trap turned into a trap against you. And one nasty thing.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, where they have
Oh, yeah.
one that can control.
I mean, think about it. He's got a charisma for an undead guy with no skin. He's got a charisma of 16. He might be pretty good in deception there. Maybe he puts a hoodie on and he looks like, somebody that's needing help to lure you guys out. And worse, if they bite and kill a human, the risen that develops out of that dead body is actually a more powerful version. So they could have a cadre of stronger risen with them. So your first risen you normally get, and I'll go out of order in the book, but order in the risen is the hungry, which has, of course, that horrible picture of the mom with the baby and the papoose. They're just your typical shamblers, they're dumb as posts. Intel 3, they work on basic instinct, so your GM plays them very basic. Their AC, not too bad at all. They do have a decent amount of hit points for a dead corpse, but that's because their body is calcified, is the excuse. If they eat and develop, they grow into what's called a famished, which is a slightly bigger version of a zombie with a big bloated belly because they kept eating, and they develop bigger clawed hands to be better at grabbing and attacking, and a huge 10-foot tongue with like lamprey teeth at the end, so they can snatch and catch things. I could just see one of these hanging over an overlook as your players are walking through a doorway or something, and this thing's just lashing out at them, from a nice safe distance above. And then after the famished, you have what they call the ravenous, which their feet have mutated now to be having running feet. So it's your, dear God, this thing has a 40-foot run speed. It's a zombie that runs. Not only does it run, their claws have elongated to become great at snatching. They look almost like bird talons for snatching prey. And the ravenous are what the evil, intelligent ones create automatically. And they're definitely a lot harder to deal with. I mean, I'll totally drop that they are CR3 creatures. And any of the risen can decay if they're not being well fed, which is nice for a GM if you're going to an area where, say, all the people have been decimated. You could totally cut your players some slack and say that they are all withered, waiting for food. The problem? You are food. So know that you will be relentlessly preyed upon. And then of the paradoxical creatures, they have the classic Wendigo. It's like a CR9 creature that you definitely don't want to deal with while camping out in the woods.
Yeah, I typically don't like werewolves, and the fact that it's a werewolf, that's worse.
Yeah. And then the next section of the book is the magic items, which we will just zip through because it is massive. And it is full of charts that you generate your magic weapons from the get-go, like every little aspect of it. One thing I do like they put in the charts is that it do kind of give me the feels of World of Warcraft, where the of the owl, of the wolf, of the whale. Sort of like in World of Warcraft old school, their magic items were like short sword of the whale tells you it's a stamina thing or something like that. And of course, they give you lots of new oddities, which is good. So that way you have weird stuff. It's not really magic, but it's weird stuff. Like the bad penny. If your magic item has this, the item constantly is ending up in your hand even when you're not using it. Putting it in your pocket, bag, or even putting it down means in the blink of an eye, it's in your hand again. What would be worse than having a weapon with that trait? You're in a talking negotiation situation. You've got your hand on your holster because you know as soon as you take your hand off the holster, it's going to pop into your hand magically, which is great for a survival situation. But as soon as the guy tries to shake your hand and the gun pops into your hand, awkward. Or worse, somebody says you need to surrender your weapons to come into town.
I don't know. I think it might be bad with armor because daily necessities or whatnot would be way harder to do.
True.
Or there's the fact of like, why are you sleeping in armor? It's like, oh, it's no issue, and then you basically get a debuff or a tired effect of exhaustion of some type.
Yep. So just to let you guys know, Megan did have to bounce, by the way. That's why she got real silent real quick.
Yeah.
So that leads us to the back cover of the book. That's it. Apocalypse the Risen. Do you want to play in the apocalypse?
Who doesn't?
Now,
I like my life, at my computer screen, Who
doesn't want to play though? It's like I much prefer living in a, time, where I can have the computers and stuff. But it's kind of fun to.
So now the question is for each of you guys. I know Megan said she would play a progeny who'd, probably be a druid trying to help people. What kind of race would you guys pick?
I mean, the progeny are pretty attractive because they're so customizable.
So many options.
Yeah.
I was thinking with the Lazarus, I would do like a basically an ancient knight who has reformed, and so now I will bring chivalry and knightness to the world, but the actual version, not the fairy tale one.
So might makes right.
Yeah, and also, I'm a noble and you're peasants, therefore you should listen to me.
You should know your betters.
Yes, you should, obviously. Like, come on, where's your etiquette?
Think about it. I mean, in a survival situation, there would be communities where the warrior caste goes out and defends and brings in stuff, and then there would be a servant class that takes care of the day-to-day needs because they need protection.
Mm-hmm. Because not everybody's meant for the hunting part, but some people are meant for the gathering / other parts. So.
And I do like in the description of the hunting part how it reiterates to the players that you guys are the heroes of your colony. Your job is to go out, make the place safe, and bring back stuff because stuff is hard to get.
Yeah.
Although I will say though that after reading through everything and whatnot, one thing that the authors and the makers of this module did is essentially they were expecting you more so to play like good and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can see how this essentially could be a really fun evil campaign too, where essentially you play as like Progeny or Lazarus or something of that sort that's evil, and your colonies, for example, like a Marauder colony, and you're just trying to essentially gain power to join like a demon overlord or something. So this could easily also be a really fun evil campaign.
Oh yeah, you could take this campaign dark real easy. I mean, you could be running a governor or a Negan style colony, trying to, like you said, get the big demon lord we all see, try to get their attention that you're middle management at least. Bring me on board.
You could be head of the HOA.
Which
Yeah,
is obviously demonic.
that would be freaking hilarious, though. Actually, it's like, you know how in Walking Dead they have Alexandria and they had this basically suburban neighborhood. Yeah, the evil version is run by the HOA.
Man, the
Ev-
worst part would be if you were in a different colony and then you're playing as the HOA and you guys just go up to different colony and say, "Hey, we'll buy the land from you, and if you don't, we'll kill you."
Yeah, we suggest you take our offer.
I mean, that sounds like the creation of the Roman Empire, right?
Well,
Uh,
they
I
had,
mean,
Well, the Roman empires would accept other people, at least. I'm not sure
yeah,
the HOAs would.
yeah.
we want your resources, but not your ideas. Sorry.
Exactly. You have to conform. Everything has to be in this color scheme.
Yes, because for Romans, at the very least, if you learn about the culture and civilization, you were considered Roman and civilized, and if you didn't, then you weren't.
Uh
So
huh.
they were inclusive, or if you were Greek. That was the only caveat. If you were also Greek, you were Roman too.
So
But
yeah,
yeah,
I
oh
definitely
yeah,
want to give two thumbs up to Risen, Apocalypse the Risen, because it is one of those settings I would love to mash around. I mean, are you kidding? I've already written out an entire session zero bus campaign and a level 1 to 6 miniad campaign. Because I'm just like, here would be the big bad I'd use. There's going to be other big bads and character things, but this is the situations going on around the colony. Because as a GM, I'd still want to know what the players pick as the city, because that totally changes the flavor of your game. Because depending on what the city is, that's what resources are around, and what kind of colony the group ended up creating after session zero.
I swear though, if we're starting in like Arizona or something, I'm gonna be so sad. Like we could be anywhere in the states. Like nope,
No,
Arizona.
I don't want to start here. There's no water.
Yeah, that was one of it. Also, I don't want to deal with like a ghost of Billy the Kid just trying to
Oof.
duel people. And the thing is, because he's a ghost, he can actually win and every single fight.
The worst thing, he shoots you and he tries to goad your spirit to stick around and try again. And if you do,
Exactly.
you watch your body get up and walk away. Oh man, the ghost part could be so bad. I mean, think of how many, just dropping a ghost in the community of, oh, by the way, yeah, this is a ghost that died on this night 26 years ago. Boom. Because,
Hmm.
fear the living, but the dead are the living adjacent.
Yeah, or the this person in the colony had to be executed because they did something bad, and then their spirit comes back to try to destroy the colony.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because again, this is a apocalyptic world. You have to do what you need to survive. So
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes an execution might be necessary.
depending on how your colony has their rules set up, what happens if someone steals from someone else or takes too much food or whatnot? Or worse, like that old Star Trek Next Generation episode where Wesley's playing with the other kids and he trips and smashes into the little greenhouse, and he was going to be
Well,
executed for the crime
yeah,
because you were
stay
just
off
a
the grass.
yeah, you're a kid that fucked around, broke and destroyed things that the whole colony is going to realize that's going to hurt us down the long run. How does the punishment fit the crime?
One of my favorite scenarios for this is the young pregnant lady that
Oh,
didn't tell anybody. Like that is such a dilemma for people to deal with.
and then of course your classic zombie movie problems. Like any season of The Walking Dead. What happens when a disease comes in the community?
Yeah.
But wait, there's that druid out in the Darklands in the woods that has a cure for that. Does the group go out to get the medicine, or do we trust the local, you know, apothecary shop? Here, put some mercury on it. It's good for what ails you. But yeah, I definitely think we need to, like I said in the chat, at least have a mini campaign to play this out before the Kickstarter comes out. And of course, I've totally, stuck that poll in the Skype chat to see when you guys would be free for it.
Oh, you got my vote. So.
Yep. And we'll have more news coming for the Apocalypse the Risen one-shot mini campaign, because it'll probably be like six sessions. Should be enough to go from level 1 to 6 with some skips. Because I was totally thinking when we do it at level 1, just make your level 1 character see what it's going to be like at level 1, and you have just a one encounter, go out and here's some shovels, kids, go smash some Risen. Prove that you're a group of hunters as you guys are figuring out your characters' voices and each other as a teamwork. And then level 2 is you actually go out on a grocery shopping run.
Well, I have a question. So, you know how session 0 takes place at basically 25 years before the game is going to take place. You do the session 0 first, then build the characters based on what you brought with you, or
Well, no, it's up to you guys after you finish the session 0. Because the session 0, there's a table that's got all the characters, and then after session 0, everybody can go off and make their characters.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking.
And then you have an idea of, do I want one of these survivors to be my parents? Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You could totally play the same NPC you played in session 0, their child.
Uh-huh.
Because, hey, now I have insight into my parent during the apocalypse because they've told us the story of the bus ride. That fateful day we left town before we saw the portals open and the angels fall and the demons crawl from the earth.
Or do you want to play a wrench? Like, for example, a progeny in a colony for the bigoted people.
True. It could be that your parent hid you away from everybody, or even worse, tried to disguise your demonic features.
Yeah.
I mean, as a player, you could totally pick that your progeny keeps it hidden, keeps it secret. Maybe the group knows, or maybe the group doesn't know of you can do the certain thing. I mean, heck, it even has some cool Hellboy feels. So our quick 1 hour review has, by the way, turned into a 2 hour and 15-minute review. So we should probably say that's a good place to wrap it up there.
Wrap it up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And let's get our questions together. We're going to be talking to the crew of Rusted Portal. And I think it's Donovan and at least one other of his creators that are going to be with us, at least, because they're trying to get 3 of them together. So we'll see who we get to chat with on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Should be exciting.
Yep, and Donovan was the original content creator of the idea, so I definitely get the feels that this was his campaign come to life, and then has been codified in this giant, massive 580-page tome. And of course, it will be coming out Kickstarter shortly. Apparently, on the Rusted Games site, they've got reservations for like extra stuff. So, like when the Kickstarter comes out, if you reserved, I think it's like $1 reservation, so they know you're a real person, not just an email account. You can totally get PDFs free the day the Kickstarter comes out, which that's gonna be cool. We'll see how that goes. But Anshin, I'll totally see you on Tuesday. Kelly, I'll see you probably before then. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I should hope so.
And we'll say that is definitely a good place to wrap it up. Remember, keep the living close, but the dead far away. But remember, the living can become the dead anytime.
Yep.
And that dedication to those that walked with us in the darkness towards the light. I mean, is that the demons that came back to the bodies? It kind of sounds like it. I'm just saying.
Actually, I think that light's just maybe the radioactive power plant. You know.
By the way, I will totally throw it out there. In Phoenix, they talk about the nuclear power plant. It's a radioactive wasteland.
Oh
Alrighty,
boy,
guys.
another one.
I will talk to you later, and I will totally say in the chats, we can always start chit chatting about what starting city that you're originally your ancestors came from. Throw out 3 or 4, and I'll make a poll so we can decide on what the starting city will be, or city adjacent. All right, later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.